It is.
Secretary
There is a legitimate reason to have a debate about things like migration. It went too far. It's been disruptive and destabilizing, and it needs to be fixed in a humane way with secure borders that don't torture and kill people.
Republicans and Democrats say they are engaging in good faith negotiations, but they're also blaming each other for failing to reach a deal on DHS funding. Over the weekend, Democrats made it clear they are standing firm on some key points, including the need for judicial warrants for DHS officers and masks for ICE agents. Reporters are Tom Homan points to an 8,000% increase in death threats against ICE officers as the reason for the masks. Homan also says the shutdown has not impacted immigration enforcement across the country because ICE and CBP are fully funded through the One Big Beautiful Bill. Some Republicans have cast Democrat objections to DHS funding as political theater.
When they say stop racial profiling, that's just not occurring. I mean, ICE will briefly detain and question somebody based on reasonable suspicion. It has nothing to do with racial profiling. As far as the mask, look, I don't like the masks either. But because threats against ICE officers are up over 1,500%, actual assaults and threats are up over 8,000%. These men and women have to protect themselves. As far as identifying themselves, they all have placards identifying themselves as ICE, ERO, HSI, DEA, FBI. So they all have placards on them. So I'll let the White House and the members of Congress, fight that out. But I think some of the asks are just, I think they're unreasonable.
They want law enforcement agents to show ID when they don't want voters to show ID. There's no common sense here. This is all politics. They're talking around the issue. What they're doing, Lawrence, is they want reforms that, frankly, protect illegals and criminals at the expense of tax-paying citizens.
Many DHS employees will be forced to work without pay, and that includes 95% of TSA employees who are deemed essential and must continue working despite not getting paid. They will receive back pay once the shutdown ends. And with Congress gone for a previously scheduled recess, the shutdown could stretch through the State of the Union address. That's happening on February 24th.
This is obviously the president negotiating with Democrats. There's no one better on the border than President Trump. There's no one better on interior enforcement than President Trump. And there's no one better at making a deal than President Trump. And so when we look at our role, it's supporting that and elevating that. But what our Democratic colleagues have to realize is that we're not going to walk away from enforcing the law. And when they talk about these different things and they're looking at it, they know that it's kind of rich, to be honest with you, to watch so many of them having flown off to Munich, to talk about national security on the world stage, but yet failing to fund our own here at home. They know that ICE and CBP will continue to be funded throughout this, but they know that the other things that keep Americans safe will not, and that actual American workers, TSA agents, will be the ones paying the price. Look, we believe that local, state, and law enforcement should work together with federal law enforcement. That's why we don't believe in sanctuary cities. We believe sanctuary cities are the root cause of so much of what we're seeing today. We're not going to back away from that. We've come to the table with good faith propositions that we feel like keep our law enforcement officers safe and keep American citizens safe, which is our priority. And I hope that Democrats will join us. I think they continue to play politics, Shannon, and it's unfortunate because the American people will be the ones to pay the price.
Last week, you announced the months-long operation known as Metro Surge in Minnesota is winding down. ICE, of course, is going to maintain a presence in the state, but not at the levels we've seen in recent weeks. If things keep winding down, when should that surge be over?
Well, look, we already removed well over 1,000 people, and as of Monday or Tuesday, we'll remove several hundred more. We'll get back to the original footprint, with the exception of the agents there to do the fraud investigation. We'll stay there and continue their work until they're done when needed. And so hopefully those that small footprint and security forces can be removed really fairly quickly. I'm hoping. Sure. I think things are going the right direction, and I got faith they'll continue that way.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Hi, my name is Tracy Elk with Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
Every day, there's a battle for your mind raging. Information coming from every angle with the will to deceive. Fear not. You found the place for truth. The voice of a generation that still has the will to believe in the greatest country in the history of the world. This is the Charlie Kirk Show. Buckle up. Here we go.
All right, welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. It's Monday, February 16th, 2026, here at the Bitcoin.com studios in Phoenix, Arizona. Honored to be with you, Patriots, across the country today. Massively busy media weekend. There was a lot going on. I have family in town. I was trying to focus, but there was just too much going on. And I will tell you, and we're going to get to it all. We got new Epstein revelations. We've got updates in the Savannah Guthrie case. We've got all kinds of things. But the key storyline that I think we need to lead with, because it was just too good not to lead with.
And it matters more. I
think it does matter. And by the way, that's what our show is always attempting to do.
We want to focus on the civilizational stakes.
The things that matter, the cultural things that matter, the political things that matter, the civilizational things that matter. Marco Rubio's speech at the Munich Security Conference was absolutely a barn burner. It was probably, as I said on X, the single best defense of Western civilization and an appeal to Europe to get on board with the vision that America, President Trump has put forward, that I've heard in a generation, that I think has been articulated in a generation.
Yeah, it's first of all, what it matters. This is the Munich Security Conference annual event related to defense. And during the past few years, it's all been about Ukraine and such. Secretary Rubio goes and he gives a speech that's basically laying out the grand vision of what the Trump administration's attitude towards Europe is. And we'll have the clips here, but the big picture you're looking for is he's pointing out we're not hostile towards Europe. In fact, we quite literally want to make Europe great again. And so he's pointing out when we criticize NATO, it's always that we want NATO to be stronger. We want European countries to have better militaries so they will be better allies to us. We want to stop migration to Europe because we want European civilizations to survive just as we want our own civilization to survive. And I think the most remarkable, and he makes these historic appeals. He talks about World War II. He talks about the Cold War, where we stood with Europeans against tyrannical anti-civilizational forces. And I think the most amazing thing about it is at the end of it, he got a standing ovation from the Europeans.
Which apparently is rare. But I think the reason he did is because when we criticize Europe, it is because we care. And he articulated that very well, and he did it over and over. He laced it throughout the speech. But let's just get into it. This was an amazing, amazing moment, I think. Whether it matter in the long term, will this have the desired impact? Who knows? But the standing ovation was a good.
Let's dive right into it. Let's do 246.
National security, which this conference is largely about, is not merely a series of technical questions. How much we spend on defense or where, how we deploy it. These are important questions. They are. But they are not the fundamental one. The fundamental question we must answer at the outset is, what exactly are we defending? Because armies do not fight for abstractions. Armies fight for a people. Armies fight for a nation. Armies fight for a way of life. And that is what we are defending. A great civilization that has every reason to be proud of its history.
That to me is such a distillation of what I believe is what's ailing the West right now. We have lost our pride in self. We have lost our pride in our own culture, in our own people, in our own accomplishments. We have been plagued by a guilt, a white guilt, a guilt of our own success. We have believed lies that we are invaders, that we're evil colonialists, imperialists.
He unironically touted colonialism during the speech.
Which is an unambiguously overall good thing on the history of the world. It is. I will defend colonialism. It's not that it was perfect. It's not that it didn't have brutality or cruelty involved. Of course, we're talking about a people that understood that you had to use force if you were going to get what you wanted in a mean and cruel world. So I'm not saying it was all perfect. But if you look at where especially the English colonialists have went, even in Kenya, in Africa, it's one of the most stable countries in all of Africa because it was settled by English. Same in India. Same in America. You can look across the board, and the British colonialists had I would say, overwhelmingly good, positive impact on the world.
I don't think we got this as a clip, so I want to read it. This is a line that Secretary Rubio said. For 5 centuries before the end of the Second World War, the West had been expanding. Its missionaries, its pilgrims, its soldiers, its explorers pouring out from its shores to cross oceans, settle new continents, build vast empires extending out across the globe. But in 1945, for the first time since the age of Columbus, Europe, was contracting. Europe was in ruins. Half of it lived behind an iron curtain. The great Western empires had entered into terminal decline, accelerated by godless communist revolutions and anti-colonial uprisings that would transform the world and drape the red hammer and sickle across vast swaths of the map for years to come. And he basically says, it's time for us to undo that managed decline. And that's not necessarily bring back colonialism specifically, but certainly stop apologizing for it. Stop acting like it's the worst atrocity to ever happen. And he calls out mass migration, and he calls out demilitarization.
Yeah, the managed decline, I thought he really honed in on it. It was very powerful. Play a cut 253.
For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline. We do not seek to separate, but to revitalize an old friendship and renew the greatest civilization in human history.
And then he goes on and basically says, to renew it, he talks about rearming. 257.
Asking member states of NATO to be stronger is not a threat to say, well, if you're not stronger, then we're going to, it's to point out to everybody that it is a stronger alliance. We are collectively stronger when we are individually stronger on what our capabilities we bring.
Whoops, that was from a different...
Yeah, that was from after. But the part that I think was actually the next thought in this is he goes straight into mass migration. And I love that you saw this. J.D. Vance hit it. President Trump has been hitting it repeatedly. And now you see Marco Rubio, 254.
Mass migration isn't some fringe concern of little consequence. It was and continues to be a crisis which is transforming and destabilizing societies all across the West.
We always say on this show that mass migration, unfettered mass migration, is the switch that, when flipped, will fix basically all the ills. Not perfectly. Humans are evil. Humans are flawed. They're going to be flawed regardless of where they come from. But mass migration is absolutely at the core root of so many of the problems ailing the West today, and it needs to be addressed. So I'm so glad that we keep banging that drum. We're going to have more on Rubio's speech. And then there was another little interaction that happened in Munich by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Ocasio. You have to say it with the...
Ocasio.
Yeah.
You got to say it with the theta because she's in Europe. We're going to play her idiotic exchanges as well. Never has been the contrast been so stark. All right. I want to tell you guys about All Family Pharmacies, our friends over at All Family Pharmacy. It is President's Day today, and they are running their big President's Day sale. 47% off some of the most requested medications, including ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, GLP-1 weight loss medications, all that stuff. This is why we recommend All Family Pharmacy. They're built for people who want options. People want to be prepared for what they need at home. You don't have to beg your doctor for a prescription. You don't have to sit in a waiting room. You don't have to deal with insurance nonsense. Just go right there. You can get 47% off today. All right? This President's Sale runs through Tuesday, February 17th. And when it's over, prices are going to go right back up. So get over there right now. This is the time. Don't wait. allfamilypharmacy.com/Kirk. allfamilypharmacy.com/Kirk. Grab that 47% off while it's still live. We'll be right back.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Hi, my name is Tracy Elf with Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
I'm Chris from Illinois, and I like to watch Real America's Voice in the War Room with Stephen K. Bannon for all the great guts. Everyone from Kerry Lake, the great Frank Gaffney, Trump 24, Retribution.
Hello, this is Hockey Nut from Weyerhaeuser, Wisconsin. Just saying, tune in to Real America's Voice for the truth.
Flashosaurus in the chat. I love Real America's Voice because I can watch news being delivered to me live while I chat with the family I love.
Welcome back. Private student loan debt in the United States totals $300 billion, and $45 billion of that is labeled as distressed. Why refinance is distressed or default to private student loans that others will simply not touch. There's not a whole lot of places to go if you have private student loan debt, especially if it's distressed. Well, why refi? They do not care what your credit score is. They want to give you a interest rate. They will guarantee it under 6%. And they really care about you. That's the key. We only work with partners that we know their values, that we trust them. I personally know these guys. They're amazing. And listen, if you have private student loans, nobody's going to come bail you out. That's not the way that whole space works. Now, if you have federal student loans, there's a whole cabal around it. Imagine being debt-free. If this is you, a lot of people come in to Y-Refi and they are in a absolute mess. They're stressed. Their cortisol levels are through the roof. They don't know what to do. Some are even suicidal. These people live to help you. Trust me, you can even skip a payment every 6 months up to 12 times without penalty. So if you or somebody you know, that's the key, have private student loan debt that's in trouble, check out Y-Refi, 888-Y-Refi-34, YRefi.com, YREFY.com. Please check them out. They are the best. They will help you out. We're all in with those guys. All right, I want to play one more clip from this speech because it's just so good. 285, Marco Rubio.
While we are prepared, if necessary, to do this alone, it is our preference and it is our hope to do this together with you, our friends here in Europe. For the United States and Europe, we belong together. We are part of one civilization, Western civilization. We are bound to one another by the deepest bonds that nations could share, forged by centuries of shared history, Christian faith, culture, heritage, language, ancestry, and the sacrifices our forefathers made together for the common civilization to which we have fallen heir.
And I just love that he brings the word Christian in there. Little known fact, when they were doing the European Union and they were kind of establishing some of their foundational documents, there was a debate about whether or not to include Christianity in there, something that Dr. James Orr talks about. They voted against that. So I don't know what defines the West if it isn't our common Christian heritage. Whether or not you agree, whether or not you believe, feature. There's nothing that unites the West because there's different languages, there's different culture, different food, different culinary traditions. What unites the West is our Christian roots. And Marco was very clear to put that in. So don't believe the lies. This is my big point. What I loved about this and why I think it stood out is because Marco articulated a rousing speech, but a celebration of our history and our accomplishments, of our values. So many people in that room have been fed a heap of lies that they're supposed to be ashamed of themselves and that we should be ashamed and we should manage our decline to let the global South rise or whatever, let China rise. No. And it's a choice.
And I especially think this is a part I particularly like, actually. Rubio is, of course, Cuban heritage, Hispanic heritage. And I like that he's affirming that because, as we'll see, because we'll have clips from AOC here in just a moment, there's actually kind of a conflict in Latin American civilization where some of them, they really buy into this, indigenous peoples movement where everything about it was terrible and Europe is awful and we need to decolonize the world. And he's pointing out, no, I am from Western civilization as well. Cuba is a part of Western civilization. He mentioned Venezuela in the speech. Venezuela is a part of Western civilization. It's not just Europe itself and America. It's the places that Europeans went where they spread Christianity, where they spread European cultural norms, where they spread European languages and all of that. And it was really nice to see him just step up and defend that all as a good thing, which it was, because would you rather have Mexico as it is or Mexico as a nation that sacrifices human beings?
Well, and AOC tries to take a swing at Secretary Rubio's address in Munich and misses 256.
You are starting to see the ascent of the right. Even in places like Munich. Marco Rubio's speech was a pure appeal to Western culture.
And that's a bad thing?
Oh, no.
It's terrible.
Oh, no.
So this is another funny one. She basically references the actions we took in Venezuela and said, we just did it because it's below the equator. It's not below the equator. 274.
We look at what happened in Venezuela, for example. It is not it is not a remark on who Maduro was as a leader. He canceled elections. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just because the nation is below the equator. And
they really, it's very funny. It's like, it's so funny that she gets it wrong specifically because it goes basically as close to the equator as you can get without actually touching it. I also love, she's just a classic example. So many politicians do that. As soon as she mentions like Maduro,
Venezuela.
Yeah.
You just got to lace that in.
Just uses a normal American accent for everything else.
If you can understand what the heck she means here, please send us an email, freedom@charliekirk.com, 286.
I think what we identify is that in a rules-based order, hypocrisy is vulnerability. And so I think what we are seeking is a return to a rules-based order that eliminates the hypocrisies around when too often in the West we look the other way for inconvenient populations to act out these paradoxes.
Man, don't you just? This is getting way ahead of things, but wouldn't it just be amazing to see like Rubio versus AOC on like a VP debate stage?
Like let her run for president. I would love to see her go
either.
up.
Like
we are all now dumber for having listened to this.
Just imagine, you know, obviously they're both kind of representatives of a certain subgroup, and then just one of them just an unabashed defender of Western civilization, and the other just doing.
You should feel terrible about yourself and just be invaded. Invade us harder, Daddy. That's like the contrast.
I think on X, I think she was like got mad because he made a reference to the different cultural strands going into America. New Amsterdam was Dutch, and there were French fur traders, and he's like, and the cowboy goes back to Spanish culture, which it did.
Yeah.
And she's like, tell the Mexicans that. And it's like,
oh my god,
where do you think they got the horse from?
We're gonna take this through the break. Again, email us your thoughts, what the heck she means. This will probably take us right through the break. 281.
Should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is of course a very longstanding policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted.
Seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now. Welcome to Real America's Voice Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials. Disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There is a never-ending list of reasons gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years, and a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. More than any other commodity on earth, gold thrives during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced strategy. It gives you peace of mind given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you, too. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. Just text America to the number 989898 to receive your free info kit on gold. Now, there's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ in the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, let Birch Gold help you diversify with gold so you, too, can have peace of mind regardless of this uncertainty. Just text America to 989898. Again, one more time, text the word America to the number 989898. I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice News headlines. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio delivered a major address at the Munich Security Conference, calling on European allies to partner with the Trump administration to refashion the global order. Rubio stressed the need for sovereignty, reindustrialization, and military strength while attempting to soothe tensions over past controversies, including the administration's call to annex Greenland and criticisms of Europe. Here was the Secretary of State pushing what he calls, quote, a new Western century.
Together, we can reindustrialize our economies and rebuild our capacity to defend our people. But the work of this new alliance should not be focused just on military cooperation and reclaiming the industries of the past. It should also be focused on together advancing our mutual interests in new frontiers, unshackling our ingenuity, our creativity, and the dynamic spirit to build a new Western century. Commercial space travel and cutting-edge artificial intelligence, industrial automation and flex manufacturing, creating a Western supply chain for critical minerals not vulnerable to extortion from other powers, and a unified effort to compete for market share in the economies of the global South. Together, we can not only take back control of our own industries and supply chains, we can prosper in the areas that will define the 21st century.
Be silenced. You're listening to The Charlie Kirk Show.
All right, welcome back to The Charlie Kirk Show. It's that time where I got to take my Strong Cell, my daily. I love this stuff. So Strong Cell delivers NADH in this little bottle. And what's so special about that is you used to have to go to a IV clinic or whatever to get it straight into your body in order, because it's fragile. But they've developed a proprietary delivery mechanism that gets it straight into your blood. And it's amazing. It is the power source of every cell in your body. It powers the mitochondria. It's a massive, massive supplement hack. Biohackers love it. And Charlie loved it. I've been taking it every day. It's amazing. Now you can try it completely risk-free for 90 days, 90-day money-back guarantee. And if you use our code Charlie at checkout, you will save 20% off. So this is it, Blake. Mm-hmm. There it is. You've got yours. You're going to skip it. There it is.
All right.
That's it.
Throw it down.
Blake will literally eat anything you put in front of him. So
where there are
take it with a grain of salt.
Blake
but
shall soon
I will not. That is so anyways, go to strongcell.com. That's all it is. You're done. It's not some like massive routine you got to follow. Just once a day, 4 to 6 weeks, I'm telling you, you feel like a massive boost. Brain fog, word recall issues, chronic fatigue, all that stuff will likely get addressed. And if you don't, you get 90-day money-back guarantee. All right, without further ado, Senator Mike Lee, the great senator out of the state of Utah, at a state that really struggles sometimes electing politicians. Man, did it hit a gold mine with Senator Mike Lee. Senator, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. Honored to have you.
Thanks so much. It's an honor to be with you, as always.
Well, Senator, you have been leading the charge on the SAVE Act, and you published an article kind of on X explaining why we need the Save America Act. And then I'm gonna play you some clips of some of the detractors and what they're saying. But let's start there. Why do we need the Save America Act?
We need the Save America Act in a nutshell because an existing federal law, the National Voter Registration Act, or NVRA, sometimes known as the Motor Voter Law, passed in 1993, allows people to register to vote in almost every state. Simply by going to a DMV, filling out a form, checking a box saying, yes, I'd like to register to vote, and then signing their name, saying, yes, I'm eligible to vote, meaning I'm a citizen and am otherwise legally allowed to vote. And a couple of decades after this law was enacted, in a little-known ruling, State of Arizona versus Intertribal Council, the Supreme Court interpreted that same law as saying that states may not, under the NVRA, concluding that the states had been preempted from even inquiring into the possibility of a need to verify citizenship on the part of somebody who had applied to register to vote using an NVRA form. In other words, states may not ask for proof of citizenship in that context. Well, even since that ruling a few years ago, a lot of other things have gotten worse that have made that problem really compound in the order of magnitude of a problem that it creates. Remember, in the 4-year period between 2021 to 2025, we had 10 or 15 million people cross our borders unlawfully. We've now got in excess of somewhere in the range of about 30 million non-citizens residing in this country. We've got a trend over the last 25 years of more and more states issuing driver's licenses to non-citizens. Nearly every state does that. About 19 states issue driver's licenses even to people who are known illegal immigrants. And so all of this means that it's more easy than ever and more likely than ever that somebody could go and apply for a driver's license, whether they mean to or not. They can check that box, sign their name at the bottom of the form, and presto, they are now registered voters in the United States. So the Save America Act was introduced to close that loophole, a loophole created by existing federal law. And, you know, look, the validity, the vitality of our constitutional republic depends on the security of our elections. Our elections cannot be secure as long as we've got that gaping loophole in there. We've got to close it.
Yeah, and you say here in your write-up here, you know, it's basic common sense. Completely agree. You say we require documentation proving our identity and eligibility to board planes, buy alcohol, receive welfare, cash checks, buy firearms, buy hunting and fishing licenses, pick up tickets, and participate in many political activities. You know, and it is just this wild thing where we have this carve out that seems to defy all common sense and all logic. This is a 2024 clip from Colorado Secretary of State Jenna Griswold, where she sent out 30,000 mailers to illegals telling them to register to vote. It's a true story. 245.
In 2022, your office sent out mailers to 30,000 non-citizens inviting them to register to vote. They, of course, are not eligible to register to vote. That same year, your office used Colorado's ballot tracking system to send messages to specific Coloradans encouraging them to vote when, in fact, they had already voted.
Yeah, that seems like a foolproof system that they have over there. And then this is a colleague of yours in the Senate, sir. It's Alex Padilla. And he says he has some harsh words for your SAVE Act here. 283.
Absolutely nonsensical. I mean, to insist on bringing your birth certificate or a passport. A lot of Americans don't even have a passport because not everybody travels internationally. It's the equivalent of a show me your papers law. to be able to exercise your fundamental constitutional right to vote.
Senator Mike Lee, your response to your colleague in the Senate there. Show me your papers.
That's paranoid fantasy. And that's the sort of rage baiting that we've got to resist like the plague in this country. He's absolutely wrong. He couldn't be any more mistaken. First of all, insofar as he's implying that you've got to show up with your birth certificate or a passport at the time of voting, that's not true. You do have to prove citizenship at the time of voter registration, because remember, the Save America Act requires two things. Document your citizenship at the time you register to vote, and then thereafter, having registered to vote, once you've done so on the day of voting, at the moment that you vote, you're supposed to show up at the polling place with some sort of government-issued ID. Not the full documentation of your citizenship, but just some sort of government-issued photo ID to prove that you are who you say you are, to prove that you are the same person listed on that voter registration that you previously registered for. This is not that hard. And as far as this being a fundamental right, yeah, it is. That is a fundamental incident of citizenship. And citizenship and the vote that comes with it means less when we allow people who are not citizens to vote, and that's a real problem. Insofar as suggesting that constitutionally protected right, like the right to vote, cannot ever be accompanied by documentation requirements, that's nonsense. We do it all the time. You know, you're also constitutionally protected in your right to own, possess, and yes, purchase a firearm. And yet, if anyone who's ever purchased a firearm from a federally licensed firearms dealer knows that you've got to fill out forms, you've got to provide documentation showing who you are, and you've got to wait while they process that. So this is absolute nonsense. Look, our objective here, Andrew, is to make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. The Save America Act accomplishes both of those purposes. The Democrats want only one of them, and that's a problem.
So then the question then becomes, Senator, how do we get this over the finish line? The House has passed the SAVE Act. I know it's gone back to the House for different amendments, but Thune has now become a co-signer of the bill. You've got this filibuster issue. You have been advocating for nuking the zombie filibuster. What does that mean? Is that still what you're pursuing, and what would it entail?
Yeah. So the zombie filibuster is the name that I have administered, that I've given to the process by which filibustering very often happens these days. A filibuster refers to the longstanding Senate tradition and principle backed up by Senate rules that protects open-ended, theoretically unlimited debate, subject to certain exceptions. But from the very beginning of the Republic, since the Constitution was ratified and the Senate first began its operations in the late 1700s, there's always been an understanding that you've got to speak to filibuster. Over the last few decades, we've gotten lazy, we've gotten weak. Some of these muscles have atrophied due to non-use of those muscles. And we've gotten accustomed to the idea that you can filibuster without actually going to the Senate chamber and standing up, seeking recognition, obtaining recognition, standing up and speaking. That's what it's supposed to entail. So what we mean when we say it's time to ditch the zombie filibuster is just enforce existing Senate rules, make senators speak if they want to filibuster, and when they exhaust themselves, either physically or under the Senate rules to speak, then we call the question, and the question is called at a simple majority vote. They shouldn't get the chance every single time to just say, well, I don't like this, and you don't have 60 votes to achieve cloture without me. Cloture is a vote under Rule 22 of the Senate that allows you to force debate to a close, even if a subset, a minority of senators want to continue speaking. You can force debate to a close if you can get the 60 votes. But that doesn't mean it's the only way to pass a bill. Sometimes you can get there through exhaustion, and that's what I'm advocating here. That's the way we're going to pass the Save America Act.
Do you feel, we've only got 30 seconds left here, Senator, but do you feel any momentum with Leader Thune that he would be willing, you say here on your Twitter, you said Senate Rule 19, enforce the talking filibuster by inter alia. Do you feel like he's going to do this? Is he on board? Is there any momentum?
Okay, I'll never speak for a colleague, but I will say this. I have aggressively made the case to Leader Thune and to my colleagues about the need to do this. And I'll say that he's got it under advisement. I've had extensive conversations with President Trump as well. He loves the idea, and I believe he's having conversations with Leader Thune as well. And so all within the sound of my voice, reach out to your senators, encourage them to pass this. Tell them it matters. And if not us, who? If not now, when? This thing matters. If we want to hold on to these majorities in 2026, we've got to act. We got to show our voters, our own base, we're willing to stand up for them. This is important to them. It's important to the Republican Party. Most of all, it's important to the Republic.
Well, and by the way, Senator, President Trump truthed out that we will have voter ID in the midterms, whether Congress passes this bill or not. I'm not exactly sure what he means by that. I'm assuming some sort of executive order. But President Trump is taking this very seriously, and hopefully your senator is as well. And Senator Mike Lee, I totally appreciate that. Blow up their phones. Melt the phones. This is the time to act. We need to pass the SAVE Act. Senator, God bless you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for making the time. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted.
Seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now.
All right, welcome back. Of all the news that was happening, well, you know what? Here, we went a little long with the senator, so let me just hit this really quick. Our friends over at Patriot Mobile are amazing. I actually got to see Glenn and Jenny last week in Palm Beach. It was fantastic seeing them, and they are amazing patriots. Let me just tell you, we back this company not because they're just a great product, because it is. You get the same wireless service that you always have had. They have access to all three major networks. It's amazing. There's literally zero drop off in the quality of your phone calls or texts or anything like that. It's just better service. I will say that. 100% U.S.-based customer support. But Glenn and Jenny are out in the trenches. They're fighting alongside of us on the Islamification of Texas, on 1A, 2A, first responders, all of that stuff. And they give you all the same stuff: unlimited data plans, mobile hotspots, international roaming, and more. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you're helping grow a movement that fuels Christian conservative causes. Every bill you pay helps advance the values of faith, family, and freedom. Switching is easier than ever. Activate in just minutes. It's so easy. You can take a stand. You got when you're spending your money, make sure you're backing the people that support the way the country should go, the future that you want for your kids and your grandkids. Go to patriotmobile.com/Charlie or call 972-PATRIOT. Use promo code Charlie for a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Charlie or call 972-PATRIOT. There's not even an excuse not to do it at this point. If you love the country and you want to see it be more Christian, more conservative, live up to the founders' ideals, it's just an easy thing to do. You just switch your service over, and then the money is going to a better place. So if you haven't done it yet, do it today. Please use promo code Charlie, patriotmobile.com/Charlie. Okay, so I got to hit this one. This is kind of a little fun one. On top of all the news, and we got Jeremy Carl coming up next hour. We told you about him yesterday, so don't miss that. That interview is going to be amazing. But Obama apparently confirmed that there's aliens. Or did he? Or did he?
Sure thing, Andrew.
This is... Are aliens real? Email us, freedom@charliekirk.com. We want to see... Pull up the email. I want to see what people are responding. Okay. And did you think that Obama was saying this or not? 272.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in what is it?
Area 51.
Area 51. There's no underground facility, unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the President of the United States.
Okay, Blake, what do you think he was saying?
It sounds exactly like it was like a speed round of questions, and so they asked him if aliens are real, and he said, "Yeah, I think they're real, but I don't have secret info about them." I think is what he was saying. I am
the wet blanket of all. Okay,
look, I mean, I guess the alternative is he kept the secret, nonstop over a nearly 20-year period. And then he's like, yeah, I'm just going to admit they're real on this podcast. Why not?
Okay.
And everyone else kept the conspiracy secret.
I mean, he did just go, are they real? Yes, but he hasn't seen them.
Well, it's so great because Obama truly is this avatar of a type of person who was so predominant in America in the early 2000s, kind of this... It's funny because I want to say like white nerd, and he's not white, but he kind of spiritually, and he's very spiritually like those people where they would, they'll run the numbers and they'll say, well, actually, I mean, there's trillions and quadrillions of stars and planets, so the odds that there's no aliens anywhere in the universe.
All right, he responded. So this goes mega viral over the weekend. You've got Epstein names getting released. You've got the Munich Security Conference. There's all these feuds and infight, and this somehow pierces everything. It becomes like a massive story. He says, I was trying to stick with the spirit of the speed round, but since it's gotten attention, let me clarify. Statistically, the universe is so vast that this is what you're saying.
I told you, yeah.
The universe is so vast that the odds are good that there's life out there. But distances between solar systems are so great that the chances we've been visited by aliens is low, and I say saw no evidence during my presidency that extraterrestrials have made contact with us. Really?
Let me be clear. Yeah, that's the truth of it. We're going to hear it.
It's not the red states
we're
or the blue
hear
states.
About this
the alien
for
states.
Ages. That I'll have to counter this video.
Mask off.
It's like... They managed to have these sweeping, conspiracies of silence that suck in hundreds, thousands, if not millions of people, and then it's just blown open because he just gets loose during a podcast episode. I'm pretty skeptical. Let's see what the emails say.
We got a bunch of voter ID. Yeah.
Lisa says she believes that people are seeing angels and demons. That's a take others have said. I think Tucker's talked about posture.
Elizabeth says no. I loved E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. No, there are not aliens. They do make for really great science fiction movies.
Jennifer says if there are aliens, they are not what we see depicted in Star Wars. I believe that the Bible said God created man in his image. So say we have super smart, powerful aliens would go against that. There's some fun like Christian sci-fi out there that will dwell on the question like, okay, if aliens exist, would we have to evangelize them, or like would God have to also do an incarnation for them?
What's interesting is that C.S. Lewis wrestled with this.
Yeah, I've been reading the Space Trilogy, so I read That Hideous Strength over Christmas. Now I'm reading Paralandra. I want to recommend that to everyone watching. It's a very interesting book. Paralandra, the plot is, it's pre-space flight sci-fi, so we don't know anything about the planet. So it takes place on Venus, which we could not actually visit, it turns out, but he has Venus as a habitable planet, and the main character basically intervenes on the planet at the moment where, like, each planet kind of has its own creations by God. And so he arrives on the planet, and it's newer. It's a younger planet than Earth. And so he basically arrives in its version of the Garden of Eden right when Satan shows up to try to make its version of Eve fall. And he has to, like, intervene in it. It's a crazy book, and it's not long. It's under 200 pages. So I'll tell everyone to check that book out.
What's it called again?
Paralandra.
And it's written by?
C.S. Lewis.
Oh, I didn't realize.
In the Space Trilogy.
Sue says, aliens are real. They're called rats, you know, with the rats. Oh. But they come from the depths of hell. I had to read that one.
Carlos says, no, absolutely not.
Interesting. I'm surprised to see so many people say that aliens aren't real. I actually am. In the vast expanse that is space. And by the way, as a Christian, I don't feel like that challenges my faith at all, actually, because God is the ultimate creator. He's infinitely creative. And I don't think that that would make us less special. I think that's basically where C.S. Lewis sort of ultimately lands. So admittedly, I'm led by.
It's very interesting. The Space Trilogy, kind of the core concept is, what if there was life on every other planet, but Earth was the only one that fell? And so, like, we had to have the incarnation to save us. Everyone else did not sin. It's some very interesting stuff. And That Hideous Strength is very good as well.
Mariah says, demons are among us. They can appear as anything, aliens and demons. So it's just connecting. Listen, there's a lot of people that think that sort of thing. All right, everybody, you are not going to want to miss it. We told you about Jeremy Carl. He got absolutely the hyperventilation about his nomination to the State Department. Went mega nuclear last week, calling him a white supremacist and an anti-Semite. He grew up Jewish. He's coming on next, and we're going to let him, in his own words, explain what happened. And we have his back, 100%. We'll be right back.
Exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted.
Seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now. Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rev has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with RAV. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are RAV.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
I'm Bo Davidson from the Real America's Voice newsroom. Yesterday was an historic day for U.S. energy and national security. Our very own David Zier traveled with the Departments of Energy and War for what is being described as the only airlift in history of a nuclear reactor. With me now is David Zier to tell us all about it. David, tell me what it was like traveling with the Departments of Energy and War and what you experienced.
An incredible experience, Bo, and it's not every day you have a nuclear reactor sitting next to you on a plane, and try getting that through TSA. Let me tell you, we flew 6,000 miles yesterday, wheels up at Joint Base Andrews at 0600 hours. We landed at March Air Force Base right outside of Los Angeles. We got on board a C-17 Globemaster heavy lift transport with Secretary of Energy Chris Wright and Undersecretary of War Mike Duffy. That was also loaded with a Valor Atomics 5-megawatt nuclear reactor, enough to power 5,000 homes. And it's the first time in history of the world that a nuclear reactor was transported by air. Then we flew to Hill Air Force Base in Utah, outside of Salt Lake City, where this reactor was transported to the San Rafael testing labs. And this is a groundbreaking collaboration, Bo, with Valor Atomics, directly aligned with President Trump's 4 executive orders to reshape and modernize America's nuclear landscape. And DOW, Department of War, and Department of Energy partnered up to mark this historic milestone in advancing America's nuclear energy landscape and strengthening national security. And the beauty of these reactors are, which are going to be tested by the 250th anniversary of America, and maybe in service in 18 months, are standalone reactors that don't have to be tied to the grid. They can power AI, they can power manufacturing facilities, they can power Fort Bragg without being tied to the electric grid. So if we ever get attacked or we want to open a base up in Africa, in the desert, or wherever, we can drop these systems in, these high-temperature gas-cooled reactors, chain them together, and provide enough power to run even a place like Bagram, if we still had it. So an amazing day, incredible moment in history, and another one of Trump's just amazing accomplishments that doesn't really get talked about.
Yeah, you're right. Not a lot of news is reporting on this, David. And the fact that you, David Zier with Real America's Voice, were there and got to see this firsthand, just, I think, underlines the significance of it. And you mentioned the national security implications, the energy implications. I know that you had a sit-down one-on-one with Secretary Wright. Tell me what you learned from that.
Well, I talked about some of the impediments, they're helium cooled. Do we have enough helium supply and all these other types of issues here? But there's a march in unison between the cabinet of the Trump administration. Last week, I was on the ground with Secretary Hegseth in the Bath Iron Works, where we make our guided missile destroyers. And then I was in Quonset, Rhode Island, where we make the new Columbia-class submarines. They're all fired up. The employees are fired up. The leadership's fired up. And Hegseth and Trump said, if you don't perform, we don't care whose name is on the side of these weapon systems. We just want to get them in the hands of the warfighters. And if you're going to delay it while making millions of dollars of a CEO or defense contractor, you're out. And they're cutting through the red tape in the Pentagon. And we'll see how successful they are. But so far, they're moving at light speed. And Secretary of Energy, Chris Wright, I also spoke with him about federal lands and getting permits, which used to take 2 years to drill, to frack, to get rare earth. Now Trump's got that process down. I think he's trying to get it down to just a few weeks. There's a lot of changes across the landscape so we can have strategic energy dominance for the United States in a very volatile time. There's a lot of threats. The Chinese and the Russians have these high-temperature gas-cooled reactors, but we are light years ahead of them. We're going to start implementing these things to power our industrial base, and because we can't meet the needs on our current electric grid. If everyone wanted an electric car, if everybody wanted an AI center everywhere, we can't do it. This solves a lot of problems for us, maybe even be used in space.
David, we only have about 20 seconds left. Is nuclear the future in terms of where we're headed and how it can power the United States free from attacks from our adversaries? Just real quickly.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. And these are low-enriched uranium nuclear reactors. They're going to develop thousands of them at scale, and they're safe. They can't be weaponized, so terrorists, All
right, David. Well, that's incredible reporting. I'm glad you had that experience. It's totally unique. We'll be right back.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted.
Seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
Listen.
All right, hour 2 of the Charlie Kirk Show is underway. Welcome back. So excited to have Jeremy Carl back on the show here at the Bitcoin.com studio, your one-stop shop to buy, sell, and trade Bitcoin here in Phoenix, Arizona. It's the Bitcoin.com studio. Great guys. Check them out. Also, Jeremy Carl, he should be all ready to go. Yeah, welcome to the show, Jeremy Carl. You have been nominated for Assistant Secretary of State
for International Organizations.
I got it. It's a bit of a mouthful of a title, but what an honor to be nominated. Welcome back to the show. It's so good to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I had a fun time in D.C. last week, despite all the fireworks. I truly did. Good. And, I just was, as you said, it was an honor to be nominated, and looking forward to hopefully being able to join.
Yeah, well, so, and Blake, I mean, feel free to chime in here, but yeah, you had one of the more eventful nomination hearings that we've seen in recent memory, and boy, did they come after you with just, I mean, it was like hyperbole.
Which you knew was going to happen. I talked to you before that hearing, and you said, like, I'm going to have to sit there and just get, raked over it for a couple hours, and that's exactly what they did.
They called you every name in the book. I mean, this was just, it felt like, it felt like a throwback to like 2020 or like 2019 or something like that, 2021. And I just was like, are we really still, like, are you still going with these bad answers?
Are we going to let them do this sort of bad faith framing of everything? And also, as we talked about last week, that bit where they just pretend to not know what people are talking about. So they went after you, of course, for your book, which is a great book, and people should read it. And all of the unprotected class. They're going to rake you over the coal because you say America has anti-white discrimination in it. Well, it does. They brag about it and demand more of it all the time. But what do you have to say, Jeremy? About
do you still stand by this idea, Jeremy?
Yeah, thanks. And that was actually the part I was most proud of about the hearing is there's, it's a high pressure environment when you go in there. And even if you're somebody like me who's certainly spoken in public fora on many occasions, when you have a bunch of very hostile senators controlling the microphone and saying, have you no decency, how dare you have that view, it's very easy to kind of recant or go back. And I didn't do that at all. I stood by my beliefs, which I certainly do believe very strongly. And so, I kept my integrity. That was really the most important thing to me going into the hearing. And just the sort of avalanche of positive correspondence and comments that I got afterward really convinced me that obviously, not just morally, but practically, that was the right thing to do.
All right. Well, we definitely wanted to have you on because Charlie fought for your nomination. He was one of the people. You were one of the people he really wanted to get into the government. He was very excited about it, really fought for you. But you're facing, obviously, a ton of opposition from Democrats. But what's been frustrating to us to hear is there's been some skepticism from one of the Republicans on the committee, Senator Curtis from Utah. Mm-hmm. And his expressed reason was very odd to us. He believes you were not supportive enough of America's policy towards Israel. And he basically said you would be bad for that role because you're going to the United Nations. Now, that's shocking to us because we know Charlie was a huge supporter of Israel and us, protecting them in the Middle East. So the floor is yours to respond to Senator Curtis's concerns.
Yeah, and I want to be first sympathetic to Senator Curtis. I mean, I think if you were primarily viewing this from the media oppo dumps that were happening in the weeks up to the hearing, and then certainly the comments the Democrats were making, maybe you would be skeptical. But I certainly would point, as you note, to Charlie's support of me, and Charlie was really, of course, a great supporter of the U.S.-Israel relationship. And I also, of course, worked as the right-hand man for a decade for the late Secretary of State George Shultz, who was Ronald Reagan's Secretary of State and was also sort of second to none as a champion of the U.S.-Israel relationship. So I'd certainly point to things like that and the fact that those two gentlemen chose to be in my corner over a number of years, Secretary Shultz and Charlie, of course, both sadly no longer with us. But that sort of speaks to my views. And then obviously just personally within the UN system itself, I mean, there's no question it's a hotbed of anti-Semitism. The focus on Israel they have there is absolutely absurd and ridiculous. It wastes time from actual productive things that could be accomplished. And there's no question that we are their biggest ally in that system where they often don't have other allies. And we, just like any other close ally we have to be very supportive of them in that context. And I would certainly just say that not just because of Senator Curtis, but I would have said it if I could have gotten more than 2 words edgewise in the hearing itself.
Well, and by the way, I mean, much has been made. You grew up Jewish, apparently, but it's also, it doesn't mean that you don't have critiques of the status quo relationship or the way that money flows or any of that stuff. All of that stuff is on the table. But to say, you are broadly supportive of that ally and of that relationship, their right to exist, their right to defend themselves. So I don't know what the to-do was about, to be perfectly honest. It's like, yeah, you can have critiques without basically saying, hey, we need to blow up this whole relationship or something.
Well, that's right. And I mean, I had a huge amount of support very publicly on the eve of the hearing and afterwards from prominent members of the pro-Israel community. All of our UN ambassadors were supportive. The global envoy we have for addressing anti-Semitism issues was supportive, so that's there. I have at times said some things that were critical of some sub-aspect of it, but none of that really impinges on what we're doing in the UN. There's no question that for the actual job that I would be put in if I'm confirmed by the Senate, that I would be foursquare for every element of the U.S.-Israel alliance. This is not a tough question. It's not a close call. It's really obvious that, frankly, the behavior toward Israel in the UN system is egregious, and we should be fully supportive of them in that context.
Yeah, it's been so galling to me to see this happen because we have to have all these Democrats on stage posturing about this when they're the party that's allied with Mamdani. They're the party that has people routinely demanding boycotts, who are routinely saying, like, there's one big villain in the Middle East.
Genocide.
And the genocide word, of course. Like, and they're endlessly using this as part of their wider front, as you're well aware, that they attack Israel basically because they see it as Western, because they see it as European, because they see it as, as they code it as white, as we say. And as we see, this administration is standing up for those things. That's why Secretary of State Marco Rubio, we were just touting his speech in Munich, where he says, we are going to confidently stand for Western civilization. And we have to be doing that at the UN. And you're one of Charlie and President Trump's picked men to do that at the UN.
Yeah. And so Jeremy, your view on it right now is you have a sympathetic view towards Senator Curtis. We got 30 seconds in this last segment. Are we hopeful? Are you meeting with him? Is there any news there?
I'm hopeful. I mean, obviously the hearing just happened. I don't want to sort of name names because the process is going on, but I've got some senators who are very strongly in my corner and who I think would love to make a meeting happen so that I could sort of clarify a bit more of my background and interests and in these sorts of issues to Senator Curtis. I really do feel like if he gives me a little bit of time to speak with him, I think he'd be very reassured in this area. So I hope to get the chance to do just that.
All right. We're going to keep you for another segment here, Jeremy. We have much to discuss, namely what you didn't get a chance to discuss in your hearing, what you would actually do in the job. Imagine that. I want to tell you guys about Blackout Coffee. I am literally drinking it right now. It's amazing. I drink it every day, multiple times. The team makes fun of me. By the way, there was a new study that came out.
It stops dementia, right?
If you are a heavy coffee drinker, of which I am, that it actually has positive impacts on dementia. All right, so check it out. Morning Reaper, Brutal Awakening, 1776 Dark Roast, 2A Medium Roast. They even have instant coffee. So go to blackoutcoffee.com/Charlie and use code Charlie for 20% off your first order. That's blackoutcoffee.com/Charlie. These guys are the real deal, real patriots, independent company. No wokeness, nothing, just great coffee. blackoutcoffee.com/Charlie. We'll be back.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted.
Seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now. Welcome to Real America's Voice Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. So Jeremy Carl is with us. He obviously it was a version of the Salem witch trials at the Senate for his Democrat counterparts there. So you didn't get to talk about the substance of the actual job and what makes you competent, and which is, I think, the whole point. They wanted to distract from the fact that you are one of the most articulate, competent, I would say, defenders of American values, of President Trump's platform, his foreign policy. They didn't want you to talk about any of that. So, the floor is now yours, Jeremy. Why do you want this job, and what do you hope to accomplish?
Yeah, thanks so much. And I was actually at the beginning of this process, which was further back than any of you would probably believe, even if I told you. I was given a choice of a few different portfolios that I might have had, and really, after thinking about it a little bit, chose this one as a place where I could really make an impact. Because look, the United Nations and certainly many other international organizations have been a longtime source of frustration to those of us who are America first, to those of us who believe in American sovereignty. I mean, there's no question that, as President Trump has said, they have great potential, but they have not lived up to that potential. But I think there's a lot of things that we could be doing, need to be doing in these bodies. There's sort of a horseshoe effect, I think, a little bit here, where the people who are sort of most opposed to the UN in the United States and the people who are actually inside the UN kind of want the same thing, which is to have a bunch of shop talk and not really a lot of useful concrete action on the things that the UN should be doing, which really primarily should focus around keeping the peace and certainly not being a global government. What I want to do is have the UN do a limited set of things and actually do them effectively and advance U.S. interests in them. So that means we want to be countering China and Chinese influence everywhere we can. We want to be in the standards bodies and making sure we elect Americans in those standards bodies. There's 56 different, I believe, standards bodies within the UN system, ranging from the International Atomic Energy Agency to the International Telecommunications Union. People don't necessarily think about them in the U.S. that much, but they actually end up often having enormous influence on what we do. So you start with things like that. You start with the U.S.-Israel relationship, which I talked about there, and we need to be very good protectors of Israel and other allies. And there's really just, it's a huge organization. There's so many different moving parts, but I think aggressively moving on issues of U.S. sovereignty, trying to stop the migration abuse that we've seen that has led to open borders throughout the world, which is often enabled by the UN system. Those would be kind of the priorities that I would have, that I have if I'm confirmed for the job, which of course I didn't get to talk about during the hearing.
There was that powerful moment in Secretary Rubio's speech where he says the UN has the ability to do a lot of good. It could be a tool for good. And then he goes through the list of instances where it actually was useless. But it took American might. It took B-2 bombers in Iran. It took special forces in Venezuela. It took those European partners coming together along with the U.S. to even get peace negotiations, a discussion to even begin between Ukraine and Russia. What did you make of Secretary Rubio's speech, and what are you pulling out? What are the through lines that you're pulling out from that moment?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm glad you mentioned it. It was an absolutely terrific speech. I'm not just saying that because he may be my boss at some point in the near future, but I thought it was outstanding. I thought it did a great job of having a really hopeful vision and also really stressing the importance of American sovereignty and American power at the same time. I thought the critique of the UN was right on, and it really gets to what I was just saying earlier, which is, well, okay, is the UN going to just sit there and be a place that talks shop and doesn't actually get anything done. If I were in the UN, that wouldn't really strike me as something that would be enhancing my power and credibility. And so what I want to do is to have, hopefully be able to effectuate under U.S. leadership some internal reforms so that we can act in places like Venezuela and we're not just sort of hamstrung by these infinitely kind of back and forth processes that are all just about virtue signaling.
Yeah, it's really great to emphasize this because it's already bad enough. People might be asking, why are we having this hearing about you? It's because you were nominated way back last spring, and then the Senate's taken a while on a lot of nominees, and thankfully they resubmitted you again. The White House has really stood by you, and that's one reason it's so important to get you in. They've admirably stood by their people, even where they've faced some, bad faith opposition. And I want to make sure we get to this. So especially if you are in Utah, we want you to call Senator Curtis's offices. Respectfully.
Jeremy didn't know we were doing this.
Don't
Jeremy.
flip out. Don't badmouth them. Don't say anything nasty. Just say, call him regardless, but especially if you're in Utah, give him a call. His DC office is 202-224-5251. Let's repeat that for the podcast people. 202-224-5251. Say you're calling. You're a Utah voter if you're from there, and you say, I'm calling about Jeremy Carl's nomination to be Assistant Secretary of State for International Organizations. Mention that he was one of Charlie's favorites. He really wanted him in that post, and you want the senator to honor Charlie.
I want to underscore be respectful. And I also want to underscore that Jeremy didn't know we were doing this. So I just
okay.
But
I did not plan this. I promise.
Please know this could backfire, Jeremy, if handled poorly. So just be very respectful to the senator.
Yeah.
And I'm still hopeful because Jeremy, I know you're a man of great charm and whimsy. And I know that
I'm hoping I can, and I'm glad also you mentioned the degree to which the White House has stood by me, which I really appreciate. I mean, all of this stuff that did came out since my initial nomination, and some of it was kind of known, or at least it was out there, so it wasn't a surprise. Others of it, sort of surfaced for the first time, and the White House took all of that into account and just said, hey, this is still our guy. It doesn't change our view of him. We know that he's a really strong guy and will be good in this, and I'm just incredibly appreciative of the support of President Trump and Secretary Rubio to really stand strong at a time when a lot of others would have folded.
Yeah, well, and listen, the viewpoints that the Democrats were hitting you with, whether the exchange you had with Cory Booker was hilarious to me. He's like, really? You believe that? You held your ground? But it was just amazing to me that this was shocking to them. These are down the middle, completely mainstream conservative beliefs that you hold. And the more that they're going to try and gaslight the public and thinking that mainstream conservative beliefs, by the way, proven, we've got 1 billion clips that prove all of these positions, whatever. The fact that they're still trying to act surprised about them at this point, Jeremy, is really, that's why I said I felt like I was in 2021, 2019, something like that, 2014 even. Last 20 seconds to you, sir. What's your final message?
Well, my final message, I think, is that I would love to have the opportunity to serve the president and the country in this role. I really appreciate the support of you guys. I mean, Charlie it was such a huge loss, just personally, professionally. But I love the fact that you guys are carrying on his legacy and really appreciative of your support now and over the years.
Absolutely. Jeremy Carl, we have your back. We expect to see you at the State Department soon. We'll be back.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shopped. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate today. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Lazar Garcianovich here from Japan. Love Real America's Voice, real news, honest views, and love seeing everyone there. God bless America.
Hello all you Ravagers, I'm Billy Howell, your old buddy Carefree Largo from the chat, and I'm thrilled to be part of the Rav family. When I want to be heard, I use my Real America's Voice.
I'm Terry from New Jersey, and I just want to say that I love Real America's Voice. I love you guys. Keep up the good work.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice News headlines. Today is President's Day, a federal holiday celebrated on the third Monday in February to honor all U.S. presidents. The history of this day is interesting because after George Washington's death in 1799, his birthday became an informal day of remembrance, which Congress declared a federal holiday in 1879. In 1968, however, Congress passed the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, so that workers could have a 3-day weekend, moving from February 22nd to the third Monday in February. Beginning in the 1980s, retailers began to use the term President's Day to capitalize on consumer spending habits, although the holiday remains officially Washington's birthday in the federal government. The holiday also combines President Abraham Lincoln's birthday on February 12th. During President Trump's first administration, he had a portrait of Washington in the Oval Office, as well as the iconic full-length Lansdowne portrait by Gilbert Stuart in the East Room. This has been a staple in the White House since the 1800s. In other news, the FBI says a glove found about 2 miles from the Tucson home of missing 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie appears to match what a suspect wore on surveillance video the night that she vanished. Investigators have sealed off roads and towed a vehicle as the search enters its third week, but no arrests have been made. Guthrie, mother of NBC Today co-anchor Savannah Guthrie, is still missing, and authorities and family are urging anyone with information to come forward. It has been 16 days since Nancy Guthrie disappeared. In other news, the exiled Iranian Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi appealed to President Trump, calling for humanitarian intervention and urgent measures to neutralize the Ayatollah. He advocated neutralizing the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and stopping what are called ghost tankers that transport sanctioned oil. He also advocated other measures to neutralize the Iranian Guard. Meanwhile, Indonesia has reportedly been preparing 8,000 troops to be expected for deployment to Gaza as part of President Trump's humanitarian and peacekeeping restructuring. The Indonesian National Armed Forces has finalized its troop structure to deploy to Gaza. Though the Indonesian government has not decided when they will actually be deployed, Indonesia would be the first country to formally commit troops to the peacekeeping mission under Trump's Board of Peace initiative in Gaza. Those are your headlines. Now we return to the Charlie Kirk Show.
to here. Bitcoin.com studios. Check them out today. But so the team apparently has been getting studios. Check them out today. But so the team apparently has been getting all these requests from you guys about kind of some of our best sellers on the charliekirkstore.com of our merch. And so they've re-released all of these ones. This is Never Surrender, which is, I think, our all-time best-selling shirt, if I'm not mistaken. Jesus Saves, Live Free, another one of our all-time bestsellers. Here I Am, which Charlie specifically requested to get that made, and then the Charlie Kirk Show tee as well. So go to charliekirkstore.com to check out all of those. The team always is like, you got to bring it up, and then so now they've got the studio that makes me do it now. But it's great. charliekirkstore.com to check all those out. Never Surrender is literally the OG bestseller. So please check that out. Sean Davis, co-founder, CEO of The Federalist, good man, joins us now. Sean, welcome back, my friend. Good to see you.
Good to be back. Thank you for having me.
So we have to start here. We just found out that Robert Duvall died, who is an iconic American actor, kind of old Hollywood, and I think he was a winger.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. He was supporting in McCain back in 2008.
Well,
no, come on. But with him, okay.
It's great. Is it a sliding scale?
I mean, he got old. I think he was probably just less prominent because he was.
He died at 95. I mean, he lived a good long life. And some of the most iconic clips. You have one pulled up, right?
Yes. We have that ready to go. Let's make sure we have that number.
I thought you had it. All right. When I say you have a clip ready.
Well, yeah. So let's do 298.
In the morning. You know, one time we had a hail bomb for 12 hours. When it was all over, I walked up. We didn't find one of them, not one stinking dink body. Smell, you know that gasoline smell. A whole hill. Smells like victory.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Sean, I don't know if you saw the news, but if you have any thoughts on Robert Duvall, feel free.
Yeah, so my favorite role of his, it wasn't on the big screen. It was in the TV miniseries of Lonesome Dove, which I think is the greatest American novel ever written. And he played Gus McCrae. I think it's one of the greatest roles he ever played. It's one of the greatest characters ever written, and he was just spectacular.
He's a great role in my personal favorite film. At least I used to always say this. I'd have to rewatch it. It's been a while, but Thank You for Smoking.
Oh,
the movie about the tobacco lobbyist. He's the tobacco baron.
Oh, interesting.
Tells you how to make a perfect mint julep, taught to him by Fidel Castro.
all the obviously the Godfather series, Open Range, little appreciated movie of his, Days of Thunder, which is where Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman met and ended up getting married. But Rubbin's racing, son, because Tom Cruise is complaining that they keep bumping his car, and he's like, it's not bumping, they didn't hit you, they're rubbing you. Rubbin's racing. Anyways, so many good movies: John Q, The Great Santini, Jack Reacher, The Apostle. This guy is legitimately one of just the most. I mean, he's got movies in the 70s with Clint Eastwood, The Network. I mean,
he played Bobby Lee in Gods and Generals.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't see that. Secondhand Lions.
I forgot about Days of Thunder, which is the second greatest racing movie ever made after Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. Well, of course, everybody knows this, and you're a Southern gentleman at this point, Sean, so you can appreciate it. I'm actually supposed to go to my first NASCAR race in March, I think. Maybe I've got that mistaken. Anyway, I've never been, but a lot of people love it. A lot of people are saying, all right, that's not why we had you on, but the news just broke. And, you know, I love lifting up actually a talented actor that didn't disgrace himself, that died of natural causes. There wasn't some crazy story involved. So, you know, God bless him. God bless his family.
Who loved this country.
He did. He's a real American. What I wanted to Brilliant. Sorry, I'm still getting over something. Need All Family Pharmacy to help me out here. So what I wanted to get in here, Sean, is there was a couple of clips that I couldn't help noticing and drawing a pattern. First one up, let's just start with Obama, because he went on this podcast, made a little bit of news, 242.
The same would be true, let's say, here in Los Angeles around the homeless issue. The average person, doesn't want to have to navigate around a tent city in the middle of downtown. And that we're not going to be able to build a working majority and support for the resources that we need to help folks like that. We're not going to be able to generate support for it if we simply say, you know what, it's not their fault, and so they should be able to do whatever they want, because that's a losing political strategy.
Okay, so my ears perked up when I heard that. But then I heard another clip, Sean, from Hildebeest, 241.
I think we need to call it for what it is.
Secretary
There is a legitimate reason to have a debate about things like migration. It went too far, it's been disruptive and destabilizing, and it needs to be fixed in a humane way with secure borders that don't torture and kill people.
And she even, Sean, you noticed she was doing the thumb thing, the Clinton thumb point. So that I really, my ears perked up, and then it all came together. It all crystallized with Andy Beshear, the touted, renowned moderate from Kentucky. Play cut 240.
How do you respond to a Democratic voter who might say, I like you, I like your track record in a red state or red Commonwealth, but you're too soft-spoken?
Yes, that message is working. Look at Abigail Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill, who ran great campaigns in races that should have been structurally difficult, and they both won by double digits. The DGA and our candidates are winning everywhere. Many Americans feel like the pendulum swung too far during the Biden administration, and it swung way too far during the Trump administration. And what they want is an America where they can wake up every morning and not be worried about its future.
So Virginia is the model. Sean, you know all about Virginia, and you know all about Spanberger. What are you gleaning from that series of clips we just played?
Yeah, it's fascinating to watch, especially all of them together. To me, it's obvious what they're doing, and they understand these Democrats. They understand they cannot get elected saying the things that they believe. So now there's a long campaign to get them to say things that they don't believe, but that sound good, in the hopes that they can get elected and then not do any of those things. So you have Obama talking about dealing with the homeless problem. Democrats don't care about dealing with the homeless problem. But you have to say that because people are sick of it. They don't like being accosted by crazy drug addicts on the street. So, yeah, we'll pretend to care about that. With Hillary, you have to pretend to care about the border. Because that sounds sane. No, they don't care about the borders at all. And then you had Beshear, who's really, I don't even want to say he's a left-wing nut job. He's kind of a nothing. He's the son of a popular former Kentucky politician, and that's the only reason he's in office. But he let the mask slip there, especially with Spanberger, who's a total left-wing nut job, saying, look, we just have to pretend to believe these things and say things that sound nice, and then when we get in office, we don't have to do any of it. It's a total con job.
Yeah, well, and remind folks about Virginia. I mean, Virginia, like, when I say you're going full Virginia in 28, like, that's full, basically radical leftist, communist, DSA, certainly. I mean, they are taking Virginia, a D6 state. I mean, Kamala held it by 6 points. They are taking it into a direction like it's a D40 state. This is absolutely radical stuff, and this is the playbook. So what are they doing in Virginia?
Yeah, so I mean, they're all but banning ICE. They're undoing everything Youngkin did to reform schools and on the trans issue. But I will have to say, in a certain just real politics sense, I admire the Democrats for what they're doing, because they don't get stuck in this trap that Republicans get in. When they get in office, if they only win by a single vote, they do 100% of their agenda, and it's why they're able to make such massive, sweeping cultural and political gains in the country. Street. You look at Obamacare, that thing was a political disaster. They didn't care. They wanted to remake the country, and they had to do it by remaking health care. And so I think Republicans actually can learn a little something from this, is that if you get in and you use power for your ends to reward your friends and constituency, you will be rewarded long term. And so Democrats, they lie and they cheat and they steal, but it works for them.
Yeah, I mean, this was just a few days after getting sworn in. New 4.3% sales tax on Uber Eats, Amazon, etc. New sales tax on admissions to a wide variety of businesses. Create 2 new higher tax brackets of 8% and 10% on people making over $600,000. A new 10% bracket for anyone making over $1 million. 3.8% investment tax on top of state income taxes. Raise the hotel tax. New personal property tax on landscaping equipment. Ban gas-powered leaf blowers. Of course, because California's just paved the way on so much of this. Guarantee illegal aliens free education. Make it illegal to approach somebody at an abortion clinic. Extend the time absentee ballots can be received after Election Day to 3 days. Allow people to cast their votes electronically through the internet. I mean, on and on and on it goes. Not to mention their redistricting fight, where they're going to have a single Republican district. Now, it looks like that one has at least been stayed for a little while. They'll probably get it, in 2028, but it's not going to make it in time for the midterms. I mean, they just went full radical, to your point. But here's what's crazy, is now you see the leaders of the party signaling to the base saying, hey, go a little bit lighter, little lighter touch, fly under the radar, don't be so radical. And guess what? If you do that, you get to go full Virginia in 26 and 28. I mean, to me, it seems about the most clear thing I've seen in a long time. And to see, Obama and Hillary still out front leading the charge. It's wild to see, Sean. That's all. Don't be fooled. Don't be duped. More with Sean Davis when we get back. We're going to talk Epstein. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to tell you guys about Strong Cell. We took our Strong Cell. We have the proof. Blake knocked his over earlier. Took this earlier. This product, this is why it's so great. The proprietary delivery of an amazing enzyme called NADH is what makes Strong Cell so special. It is the power source for every cell in your body. So when the biohackers, the supplement guys, figured this thing out, it's like game over. You used to have to get an IV for this. Now you just get it straight from this. Powers every single cell in your body. Charlie loved this product. Brain fog, fatigue, lack of energy, constant illness. If you have any of these things, this very well could be the solution for you. And if not, you just feel great and you have more energy. Completely risk-free, 90-day money-back trial. Go to strongcell.com. Use promo code Charlie at checkout. Charlie at checkout for 20% off. Strongcell.com. We'll be right back.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shopped. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate today. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend. online.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access. Plus, commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. I want to tell you about our friends over at YRefi. Private student loan debt in the United States totals over $300 billion, and $45 billion of that is labeled as distressed. If that is you, or if you know somebody that is struggling with private student loan debt, you have to check them out. So I'm telling you, you in this audience have probably heard us talk about YRefi, but maybe your friends haven't. Maybe your family members haven't. Maybe that recent grad in your family, a niece, a nephew, has not heard about this, and they're struggling to keep up. They don't have a job. They hope to have a job. They don't have one, and now they can't pay their bills, and they're living in a very, very troubled situation, financially in a pickle, in a predicament. There's not a lot of people that will help you if you have this problem, and that's why, because of what we do with campuses and college students, they make the most sense as a partner for this show, because we want to tell you about them. Go to YRefi.com. That's the letter Y followed by REFY.com. And they're going to guarantee you low interest rates. They're going to let you skip payments every so often, every 6 months, up to 12 times without penalty. A lot of people save thousands instantly. As soon as they work with YRefi, they save thousands on their bill. And here's the key part. They're going to custom tailor a solution for you based on your ability to pay. So they're going to look at your finances, and they're actually going to give you a solution that you can make. So please check them out. Call them 888-YRefi-34 or visit them at YRefi.com. All right, Sean Davis. The Justice Department has just released a number of names. So that, over the weekend, it was a 6-page letter from the DOJ signed by Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche, and it released a series of names. And this is apparently all keeping with this Transparency Act, and it gave them a 30-day statutory guideline to get this stuff out. And they have, and it feels like all hell's breaking loose. If you just look on X, it's like allegations are flying everywhere. People like Janis Joplin's in there, Elvis. Like, if you've been mentioned at all in a link of an article in an email from Jeffrey Epstein or somebody else, you are mentioned in this. What do we make of this, and how should we think about it?
Yeah, it's been really interesting looking at all the stuff that's coming out. And yeah, there's a bazillion names in there, but there are some very key trends that we see. The main one is that through kind of his entire career of all this influence stuff, Jeffrey Epstein was a tried and true Democrat. The people who were talking to him the most often and going to his island were Democrats. You had people like Reid Hoffman. This is a guy who's been funding hoax after hoax on behalf of the Democrats. You had Reid Hoffman, who was BFFs with Jeffrey Epstein. You had Kathy Rumler, who was Obama's ethics czar and his White House counsel, who is Epstein's fixer, who was involved in working with him to help mitigate scandals facing the Obama administration, even a Secret Service scandal. And you look at all this and you're like, man, this is a pretty common theme here. Like, Democrats were completely in bed with this guy. And it's been really interesting to watch the media cover this and do everything they can to not mention Reid Hoffman, who is in up to his neck in Epstein nonsense and now wants to pretend, he was just a casual pen pal with the guy.
Yeah, so this is from Kanekoa the Great. Said Reid Hoffman stayed at Jeffrey Epstein's ranch, private island in Manhattan apartment. He bought ice cream for the girls. That one's real fun. A metal sculpture for the island. Hoffman donated over $100 million to Democrat causes. He funded the fake Russian bots on Twitter and financed the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit. People forget that one. He funded Clear Choice PAC, which used lawfare to remove Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Cornel West from the ballot in battleground states. So he's literally used they emailed each other over 1,700 times. I don't think I've emailed anybody 1,700 times, legitimately. They emailed each other 1,700. They called each other very close friends, discussed the visits to Epstein's properties, private jet shopping, gift exchanges, and talked about how much they missed each other.
That is 5 years of emails if they emailed once every day.
Wow. I mean, so it's apparently the craziest email. Again, shout out to Kanekoa the Great on X. In January 2015, as allegations that Epstein trafficked Virginia Roberts to Prince Andrew went global, Hoffman offered to help Epstein with his negative press coverage. Very, very fascinating. This is from CNN here. It says this new DOJ document, it also mentioned prominent individuals who had previously been linked to Epstein, including President Donald Trump, former President Bill Clinton, former Trump advisor Steve Bannon, former White House counsel Kathy Rumler, and billionaire business magnate Les Wexner. There's 3.5 million documents. People are still pouring through them, Sean, so we're still getting new details. People keep coming up with new kernels and new allegations, and it just seems like it's a freaking mess out there. And it feels like everything that our friend Mike Davis warned about earlier in the year, last year, has basically become true, that there is so much lack of context. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of information, and there's not a whole lot of guidance on what's true, what's out, like mere hearsay, what's out of context, just mentioning of names. And it does feel like a lot of the people, you didn't want to listen to them at the time, have been proven right, that people are just getting smeared and like out of nowhere. Innocent people are getting hurt, and some of the victims are getting hurt too.
Yeah, well, and you had Ro Khanna, another Reid Hoffman Democrat ally, go to the floor, along with Thomas Massie, and they outed, 6 people who were on there as people on who were doing stuff with Epstein. They were random people in a lineup that was tangentially related to Epstein. These were random people. They didn't do anything wrong. They apparently just had their photos taken at the wrong time. The thing that I find so exasperating is, yes, we have a bazillion documents now and we're able to learn a lot. The one thing that I want to know is, which intel agencies was he working for? Which ones? I don't believe anyone when they tell me, oh, he wasn't doing anything with the CIA. He wasn't doing anything with Mossad. He wasn't doing anything with the Saudis. Nope, he was just a weird guy doing stuff. No one believes that. And I guess my frustration is, after all this time, after all these years, I just assume all the documents they had, if they ever even had them, that tell us those things, that answer those questions, are gone. And I just find the whole thing maddening and frustrating, because I feel like that's the one thing people want to know. Tell us who he was working for. And that's the one thing apparently we're never going to get to know for certain.
Well, and it's like, why does he FOIA himself? Why does he FOIA the CIA twice? I know Blake's is a naysayer.
I'm the big skeptic on all of this, Sean.
I'm completely with you. I don't believe it. I think it was soft power. Yeah, he's not like, here's your W-2 for the CIA. It wasn't like that, guys. This was all soft power and behind the scenes.
If that's what it was, then the question is, like, how far does it go? Because if it's a much more casual arrangement where he just deals in information sometimes, that's, I guess then you ask, what's the big scandal there? Because the claim is, of course, that he was doing intel ops that might blackmail people and trap people, get really involved in it.
I think he was running money. I think he was doing financial transactions.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
And I think they let him do the kinky sex crap because he was valuable for them with the financial laundering and all that. But I don't think we'll ever know.
Gotta leave it there. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you, Sean Davis. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shopped. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate today. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
There are few things more aggravating than seeing your tax dollars wasted by the government. All too often, when big government tries to save the day, the funds sent around the world to help people in need are diverted by corrupt leaders to line their own pockets, enrich their cronies, or further an agenda that has nothing to do with helping their countrymen. You can do a better job at promoting freedom than any government can. Scan the QR code now or visit atlasnetwork.org/RAV today to join the worldwide freedom movement. With your gift of just $19 a month, we'll send you an Atlas Network exclusive hat. Plus, we'll send the print edition of our Freedom's Champion magazine to your door. We identify, train up, and celebrate local leaders as they work to make freedom a reality across the world. Our partners often risk everything, their reputations, their livelihoods, even their lives, to fight for freedom in places where authoritarianism reigns. Visit atlasnetwork.org/RAV or scan the QR code to join our mission to help pro-freedom organizations around the world. Donate $19 a month to receive your exclusive Atlas Network hat.